Now folks, some on this channel suggest that Billy Te Kahika has charisma, but I fail to see it. Nigel Farage has charisma. Donald Trump has charisma, but Billy doesn't. Yes, Billy is a well-informed guy, but that is not charisma. In fact, he's the opposite of being charismatic. He's quite flat. How often do you hear the guy laugh, or even smile for that matter? Anyway, today I'll start this off with last Saturday's Liberty March. Yeah, so the first thing you'll notice is this. The police are escorting these so-called protesters, so-called illegal protesters, down the street. Now, what choice did they have after they allowed the Black Lives Matter protests to go ahead?
We do not consent!
Yeah, no mainstream media anywhere. Yeah, quite a big crowd, isn't it? Anyway, now let's listen to Elliot's speech.
Where's Elliot? There you are. Come, join us. Ka tangi titi, ka tangi kaka, ka tangi huki koi te he mori ora. Whakalofa atu, so welcoming to see all of you here. A century ago, our fathers and our grandfathers got on ships, went over to foreign shores to fight for New Zealand sovereignty, for New Zealand freedom and the right to speak. Our people bled and died and lived to bring us the hope for our future generations, that we may be able to choose our own destiny, to choose what we say and choose what we speak to do in our lives. Over the last 2 years, we lost the right to speak out for those sacrifices. We look at what happened in just the last year. Anzac Day cancelled. The year before that, most Anzac Days cancelled. And what I see is a much deeper problem and a much deeper sickness that has gone into our government. The very rights, the sacrifices of our very men, the brothers, our grandfathers, our fathers who fought in wars of blood, fear and hope are now being eroded, removed and dismantled and taken away. What we have seen since 2017 is a government who is no less eroding our very rights and our values and our freedoms, removing it away policy by policy by policy. And COVID is only the latest opportunistic grab that they have. From the very start, Andrew Little has been speaking to the UN about changing the Human Rights Act. We have him on quote saying that. We have policies and dictates from this government, and what they're doing is they're removing our rights. The abortion law, our rights and our voices were taken from us. The firearms debacle, our rights and our voices were taken away from us, taken in place. And what they don't realize is that this is our nation. This is ours. The United United Nations does not rule here. We rule here.
Exactly. And yes, folks, charisma, passion, and patriotism.
We fight every day. The sacrifices of our fathers and grandfathers are in our blood, poured out in places like Gallipoli, places like Chinook. We must remember the honour and the sacrifices of our brothers who are dead over there, that we do not lose it here. The sickness that has gone into our parliament over the last 3 years especially is hurting and causing us great pain. Yes. Like I said, COVID is the scraps, the seagulls that is the current politicians, the seagulls that they are grabbing onto. They are transferring their power. The latest bill that transfers a great amount of power, the Section 11 powers, into the hands of so few has never been done. The power to be able to direct your children to have vaccinations. The power to direct your very right to move how you want to move.
It's a medical coup.
These are our people. These are our children. We will say what's right for our children. I stand here not with men and women, but brothers and sisters who see the sickness of democracy that's gone into. We stand together, we fight together, we raise our hands, and we say that New Zealand is ours. God bless you, God bless New Zealand.
Wow.
Yeah, well, for sure. That is charisma, folks. Anyway, now to an interview after the protest.
Whakarofo atu, my name is Elliot Ikilei, Deputy Leader and Takanari candidate for New Conservative, and I'm here to join with our fellow brothers and sisters of this beautiful nation to stand up for our freedom, our democracy, and the erosion of those rights that we're seeing.
So what is it that's happening here at the moment?
So what's happening here is that we're having a downtime, we're having a bit of a debrief from the march that we've just had. It's been great, it's been exciting, it's been beautiful, actually, to see that men and women and families are standing up for the erosion of the rights that we see and the facts that this government is not able to create this silly blanket of illusion over the rest of us.
What do you feel the government has been doing wrong?
So the government, what we do know is that from the very get-go, the government did not actually go fast or hard, as they like to put out their hashtag. We know that they went slow. When they did start to react, they reacted in such a harsh and undemocratic way that we saw that the very power transferal from the overall people of New Zealand into the hands of so few, which was the Labour New Zealand First Greens government, that now we're in a position where we don't even have all rights over our children, over rights of our own very ability to freely move and interact as humans need to.
You said this government did not go fast or hard like they said. Does that mean you think they should have gone faster or harder?
Yeah, I think so. If you were going to do something, if you needed to react, even if this... Now, I think that COVID is real. I do. I think it's real. I don't think it's a... I think it may be synthetic, but I do think that it is real. Now, in terms of that, if you were looking at to protect yourself, you would have protected yourself when we said so in the 25th of January, when it was already going to Singapore and Italy and Thailand and those other areas. But this...
Yeah, now Elliot is absolutely correct there. Labour were very, very slow closing the border. But I think Elliot needs to be a bit clearer there. If Labour had have closed the border earlier, no lockdowns would have been required at all.
Government did not. They waited even 8 weeks after we called out the government until, what was it? I think it was the 23rd of March or something like that, when they finally did react. The problem is that when they reacted, instead of engaging in healthy distances and health practices, instead of that, they locked us down into positions where our economy is now nearly in ruins and in tatters, that we are now left open to other power transferals to the government, and the fact that our own people are starting to really suffer, psychologically speaking. We're still waiting for proper suicide figures. We're still waiting for proper domestic violence figures that will equate to a lot of the damage that we've seen.
Yeah, expand further on that point about what are these harms of lockdown that you're referring to, and how do you balance that against public health concerns? Where's the balance?
So one of the big ones, of course, is the fear aspect that we see on our streets. We see a lot of fear. We are seeing also the fact that jobs are creating extra stress. So I've been walking around Takanini and talking to so many of the small and medium business owners. Every single one, not most, but every single one is absolutely scared of what the future holds. And if they drop down, if they lose those created employments and businesses, that means that the jobs that they look after are gone. And those follow-on effects from that are exactly what we will see. We will see further financial struggle. We will see further needs to increase taxes, further dependence on the social service numbers and the tax dollars. We're going to see more suicides. We'll see more brutality and crime. We're going to see it all. And all because of a government absolutely mongering fear amongst our people for a sickness that has been seen to be so incredibly small in number that we're not even sure as to what they are telling us is even transparent.
Exactly.
That fear you speak of that you see on the streets, where do you feel that's coming from? Is it just from the government, or do you feel like maybe the media is helping feed that and whip up clickbait hysteria?
Well, I think we've got a fourth estate that is not so much broken as it is partisan. So we do know that many of and even our state-funded broadcaster, they are more about views, not news. And I think that we've got a situation now where they are just sort of trying to find their market share and trying to get their money. And I think that they are adding to the struggles by not presenting a good and balanced discussion on all of the issues. One of the examples that I usually put out there is the fact that most of them have signed up to the Covering Climate Now document, which clearly states that they will only present one side of the climate change debate.
Yes, even when all of their climate change claims can be debunked.
So when you've got a fourth estate who are very clearly partisan, how are we as the people being able to engage with news and make us informed as opposed to misinformed?
We have an election coming up very shortly in a few weeks. How has the government mandated lockdowns interfered with your ability to campaign lately? How has that impeded the campaign?
I think it does in certain ways. For us, it's absolutely fine because what we've been able to do is we've gone now online. So now that people also are not believing, and you'll see that swathes of New Zealand citizens are actually removing themselves from just listening to the mainstream media in New Zealand, we see them going off to online sources and cross-referencing themselves. Well, we exist in that environment. So we're very strong in terms of online information and media. We are also, over the last 2 years, almost every single week, we have been in the top 3 for online engagement. And so we are already online, and so it works for us, absolutely works for us. In terms of the operationals, then that becomes more of a problem because you've got Labour, of course, who have their taxpayer-funded, what I call the taxpayer-funded PR campaign that is basically showing Jacinda Ardern up on the screen, making her look as if she is a hero. And there's even been the very recent drama around them using Ashley Bloomfield, who is actually a public servant, in a PR campaign strategy. So there's a very clear issue around what the government thinks is independent, what is actually independent. So we love it. We think it works for us. We know that the government did not want to have this extension of time because, of course, for them, their taxpayer-funded PR campaign means that people will be flooded with stardust and then they would vote. So they want to get this election done as soon as they can so that people are fooled into believing that the government is a goodie when it's not.
It does sound like you think it's a very clear conflict of interest in between the government's role to govern the country versus them having their eye on the ball for the election just around the corner. It's quite a conflict of interest, perhaps, for them that are struggling to manage.
I think what it is it's purely they don't really know what they're doing. When we look at 2017, we were spending at one point over $700,000 taxpayer dollars every single day for working groups. And of course, working groups come up with ideas on how to fix stuff. The government, of course, did not come in with any ideas, and they have failed quite miserably along the way. If they can throw out enough of the benefits that are based on the COVID and the billions that they're spending on that, what they can do, or I believe that they're trying to do, is to fool us all into thinking that, hey, they're looking after us. We will forget all of the consistent and constant failures of this government, and then they will just vote them in like sheep. Now,
exactly.
What's great about days like this shows us that people and families are realizing the truth beneath the benefits and the continuous borrowing and the incompetencies of this government. We can see that what's going on is actually a government who is opportunistic in using a natural disaster or a synthetic disaster in order to transfer more power and to get back in off the back of that.
Yeah, definitely there's been billions, hundreds of billions spent. And you got a question like, was that the best use of the money? And has it been bringing the country forward or just putting generations of debt upon us? Like, really, you know, our future children.
Yes, absolutely right. What we've seen is that it's approximately 96-97% of New Zealand businesses are small and medium businesses. It's the private sector that will help us out. Your baristas and your renovators and your fencers and your car mechanics and all the people that's needed to do that. But this government is just incredible in the fact that they have stopped all of the working that really should be able to exist in a healthy way. We could have social distancing. You can have all of those sort of health practices in place to do it without locking down and stopping the very freedom of movement of people, as well as the ability to engage in the free trade market and in the private sector. So what you've got is you do have a situation where you've got quantitative easing, which is printing money, and then on the other stage you've got the ideas where they are starting to look at borrowing billions and billions, up to $200 billion was the last account, and we don't even know really where that's coming from. Now you want to link that in with the Belt and Road Initiative, then we've got a situation where we're not even sure as to whether we're being treated in an ideologically safe environment. So I think we're in for, I think our children are going to suffer immensely, and our children's children will as well. Like I said many times before, this election will be the most important in New Zealand's history. Forget about Muldoon and Savage and Holyoake and Palmer and all of them. This goes all the way back to 1852 Constitution Act days, and that's what we really need to be aware of.
Thank you very much for your time, Elliot. You really gave some food for thought. Any closing comments?
This year is the most important election ever in New Zealand's history. This year we do win everything back or we lose the rest. So when you vote, be very aware as to what's happening in our system, in our lives, and the future of our children. So I would say God bless you, and God bless this great nation of New Zealand.
Yes, he calls New Zealand by its real name, not Aotearoa. Anyway, now to another interview, and I apologise for the poor audio quality, folks.
Hi, Elliot.
Hi.
Sarah Smith.
Hello, Sarah
Yes.
Smith.
Yes, nice to meet you.
See, a good, healthy, natural laugh. Elliot really knows how to enjoy himself.
Yeah. So we were just talking earlier. Someone the other day actually said about the New Conservatives, and they were saying how you're an anti-Maori party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that...
Yeah, right.
Can you respond to that, please, just to clarify for why people would say that, and are you a racist party?
We're probably the worst racists ever. We've got Māori seat candidates as well. Should I speak to you or here? I'll speak to...
Oh yeah, either or, whatever you feel more comfortable with.
All right. I know. I'm getting used to the ways of doing it. So I would say that in terms of that, we're the only party who uphold the treaty. So the idea of the treaty is beautiful. You've got the first article, which is the cost. You've got the second article, which is the nuance, the negotiation of going into free trade. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. Engage it with. And the third article, which is actually my personal favourite, which is I don't believe was done in the British Empire until then, was the idea that every single person would be given the same rights and privileges as those of the British Empire. Now that's equality. That's the idea that everyone is the same. And whoever you are, whatever sexual orientation or income level or skin colour or whatever, but that we all come under the Martin Luther King Jr. quote, which is that we will be treated based off the content of our character, not the colour of our skin. Just because I whakapapa to Te Aotearoa Ngā Te Raukawa, and also to Tonga and Niue, does not mean anything. I am the same as you, you are the same as I. We are all equal, and we must be all equal. And that's the third article of the treaty. Beautiful treaty. So what you'll find is that those people who are race baiters, who are the people who say, oh, no, you should put this other group of people above all other.
Yeah. Now, essentially, that is the difference between Billy and Elliot. Elliot wants everyone to be equal, whereas Billy wants Maori to come first.
Then that is an absolute breach of the Article 3 of the treaty. So they're trying to erase it by making it co-governance structure, for example. When you are splitting up power by racial segregation, that is an utter offence to the third article. And so what we say, very clear, we are the only party standing up for the treaty because we believe in the first article, we believe in the second article, especially the idea of fixing the breaches around land, and we absolutely believe in the third article, which is the most gorgeous thing, that we're all the same, that we should be treated based on what we need as opposed to what we fuck up back to. So in terms of that, and one of the great things, we've also got one of our candidates is one of the direct descendants of Pakiwai, who was one of the only women to sign the Te Waitangi.
Oh, really?
And I love that. That's great.
And so what do you say to people that say because, that you don't support Māori culture and that you don't support making them te reo compulsory in schools?
Forced to learn. We absolutely don't. We think that it should be. We have in our policy, we would fund extra money in order to encourage and support te reo Māori and tikanga Māori. We support that. We do not want it made compulsory.
Because is it true that when the Welsh did that for their Indigenous language, it actually had the opposite effect that they thought it would? Have you heard about that?
I know of the Welsh language policy, but I don't know outcome.
Yeah, but apparently it actually made people less willing to learn it, and it actually because it was made compulsory.
Oh yeah, it's easy to make anything compulsory. I mean, look, I don't want to do maths.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, now folks, that is real charisma. His laughter is natural, and people can see that. They can see he isn't a fake. Yeah, now, to be fair to Billy, he has got the attention of the mainstream media. And you only get their attention if they perceive you as being a threat. So Billy has got them worried, that's for sure. And at the moment he's doing better than Labour and National on social media. And I will cover that in my next video, all going well.